Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today it looks like we are finally entering the market for a player that can actually benefit us this season, and it looks like the deal for Federico Chiesa is all but done and dusted. I think he just needs to finish his medical, sign a contract, which I know he was heading over to England today, but I'm not 100% sure when his medical is booked in or when he's going to take that and sign the contract. So I imagine we'll either hear something this afternoon or maybe early tomorrow regarding that deal being completed. Obviously, still have nightmares about Fekir, so I don't want to be too confident that the signing's going to happen, but all being well in the medical, he will sign and become a Liverpool player. I know yesterday I had my reservations, but that was purely on the basis that he preferred the move to Barcelona. And I didn't want Liverpool to be seen as a club who two players in the same transfer window have rejected us in favour of either A, staying at the club that they're currently at, or B, joining a different club. But, it's come out that he's very happy with Liverpool. He always wanted Liverpool. So that deal looks like it's going to happen. And I, for one, am very happy with the deal. So I want to talk a little bit today about negativity more than anything that surrounds the deal with Chiesa. And one of the words that we seem to hear a lot as Liverpool fans, especially during this transfer window, is in isolation. In isolation, the Mamardashvili deal is good, which is true. In isolation, the Chiesa deal is good, which is true. But I also think that if you look at the bigger picture of Liverpool and what we're trying to achieve, Chiesa actually helps us to achieve more of our targets than what we previously thought. So one thing I think is becoming abundantly clear is that Slot likes to have multiple options and backup in each position. So we have, for example, 2 at left back, 2 at right back. We have multiple players that can play where McAllister's going to play. We've got Endo and Gravenberch who can play as the number 6. We've got Diaz and Gakpo. We've got Darwin and Jota. And then the issue that we had, also Elliott and Szoboszlai. But one of the obviously glaring things was that if something happened to Mo Salah, touch wood it doesn't, but if something was to happen to Mo Salah, where there's no backup really. Obviously, people will say, yes, but we have Elliott who can play there. But in my opinion, and I assume based on this transfer, in Slot's opinion, Elliott isn't the backup for Mo Salah. I know that he brought him on in the Brentford game for Salah to play out there, but if you look, for example, at pre-season, and also even if you wanted to go back to under Klopp, then Elliott was seen much more as that central player. And I think with Slot, one of the things that we can do is take a look at history. So what did he have at Feyenoord? He had fast, pacey, direct wingers who he liked to run at players, beat their man, get the ball into the box, look to try and service the strikers. If we look at the words that Slot has said in previous interviews, especially when it comes in terms of can he help get Darwin to score more goals, and he said things such as, we need to start creating the chances, get the ball in front of goal to the strikers to score more goals. And Chiesa is the kind of player that helps us to achieve that. He's a direct winger. He's a runner with the ball. He likes to get the ball. He's going to be good on transitions. He can pick the ball from deep and then run forward with it. And also, he likes to get the ball into the box. I think I saw a stat earlier on that per 90 minutes, he's either top or in the top 2 in terms of getting the ball into the box in Italy, in Serie A. So when you look at those stats, and when you think of the words that Slot has said in the past, and you look at the way that he's played, Chiesa is very much the Slot type of winger. I think where in isolation becomes relevant in this is when you take away the talk of what other positions do we need to sign, and then you look at this as an isolated transfer. It's one of those transfers where literally I can't see what goes wrong here. Some of the comments are, why is he so cheap? And the most obvious answer is yes, because of his injury record, but also because his contract's expiring. They need to get rid of him now or potentially lose him for free. So, with his injury record in the past, with his his contract running down, the amount of money that Juventus could have tried to demand for him obviously gets lower and lower each time. So taking a punt on someone who is £10 million, a player who with significantly longer on his contract is obviously worth significantly more money, it's a good transfer to make even if he doesn't work out at Liverpool. Of other comments I've seen, so for example, our Italian footballers don't tend to fare very well at Liverpool. You know, you look at the likes in the past of Andrea De Sena, Aquilani, Balotelli, you know, these kind of players. But I don't think that you can kind of dismiss every single player from a particular nation because a select few players didn't necessarily perform well for us. There's different things such as, you know, the system that we're going to play them in. You know, we brought in Aquilani to be a replacement for Xabi Alonso, whereas Xabi Alonso, in my opinion, was better operating deeper. Aquilani was better operating more advanced, and things like that. So, you know, when you think about this signing, it's not necessarily just taking the fact that the player comes from Italy. Italians haven't played well before. We look at how he can play in a system that he's going to be playing in. Would he fit the Slot system? And the answer is yes, in my opinion. Because I think that we've seen enough now to know that we are still going to be relying on those counter-attacking goals. We are still going to be relying on transition, winning the ball back, breaking, you know, it's sometimes breaking from the edge of our own box and running forward. And Chiesa is one of those players with his direct running. And even though, you know, he has suffered a lot of injuries, he is still quick. Is he as quick as he was beforehand? Probably not. But he still has a ton of pace that he can burn. So, in my opinion, it's just a win-win signing for Liverpool. If it doesn't work out, we sell him in 12 months' time. We get more than what we paid for him. That's a win. Then the alternative is that it does work out at Liverpool. He does come in, whether that's going to be as a backup for Salah, whether that's going to be challenging Diaz on the left-hand side. Whichever way you look at it, it's not necessarily going to be a bad transfer for Liverpool. It's actually a good transfer. And it's one that I'm happy with. But then, obviously, a lot of the negativity that comes around this is, yeah, but he's not a DM. He's not a number 6. He's not a centre-back. He's not a left-back. No, he's not. That's true. But, you know, some of the reasons that you hear around this are, well, Slot clearly identified a number 6. That's why he went for Zubamendi. Yeah, but then also Slot has clearly identified that he wants a backup for Mo Salah if that's what he's going to have, and that's why we've gone for Chiesa. You know, opportunistic transfers don't just necessarily mean looking to buy a youngster who's going to be good in 2 or 3 years' time. It could also be filling a gap in the squad without paying a great deal of money, or having a deal like this one where if this backup doesn't work out, we can still sell him and generate more money in the future. You know, so when you think about it from that point of view, it is an issue in the squad. It's one that I've identified before. When I was looking at squad depth in a previous video, I was saying that we don't have that backup for that right wing position. If Salah does get injured, who do we bring in to play there? You know, we're going to end up putting a player who either in Ben Doak, if he doesn't go out on loan, who is probably not ready for the Premier League yet. He looked still very raw in pre-season. I think that he's one of those players at the moment where he's got ton of pace, but he needs to work on, you know, whether it's his footballing intelligence or just work on that final decision making. He still needs to work on that. So you can't then say that, well, he's going to be a good backup for Mo Salah, because he's not going to be able to do the things that Mo Salah can do, even at, say, 50% of what Mo Salah can do it. Whereas Chiesa is someone who, is he better than Mo Salah? No, not saying that he is, but he's an established player. He's played Champions League football. He's an international player. He's got all of these attributes that are going for him, which means that you have an almost ready-made backup who's not obviously going to be as good as the original. He's not going to be as good as Salah, but he can fill in that gap much better. And for me, that's better than, you know, a raw Ben Doak or an out-of-position Szoboszlai or Harvey Elliott. So I think it's a good signing, and it does benefit the Liverpool team. If anything, it strengthens the Liverpool team, because now we have that realistic backup option. So looking at the fact that he's not a number 6 and he's not a left-back, at the end of the day, we needed more positions than just those two. If Liverpool don't sign a DM, we can criticise them for not signing a DM. However, we can't criticise them by going, well, you bought a right winger and not a DM. Well, no, because these would be the same people that would also complain if Mo Salah got injured. So let's, you know, touch wood, doesn't happen, but let's say Mo Salah picked up a bad injury and he was going to be out for a few months. People would then be complaining that we didn't preempt this. Oh, we didn't bring in a backup when we only had one right winger. Well, now that argument is gone, because we have done that. We have brought him in. We have brought in that cover for that player. So for me, It's a good signing. I think it's a really good signing. And I think for the price that we bought him for, you know, I'm not saying this is going to be the case, but it potentially has, that kind of signing of the season kind of feel. £10 million for a player who could perform really, really well. We all comment on Diaz's final end product, for example. Does he make the right pass? Does he score enough goals? But then if that's the case and Chiesa can play on the left-hand side, there's a possibility that he could challenge for that left wing spot. And then, he becomes a starting regular. Or there's a chance that he just becomes backup for Mo Salah, which enables us to bring off Salah in games, keep Mo Salah fresh. One of the comments that we've seen throughout pre-season, the start of the season, is how fresh and how sharp Mo Salah looks. And it's true, but if you're expecting Mo Salah to play in the vast majority of games going forward, that freshness, that sharpness is going to drop and drop and drop and drop and drop. We're all commenting and we're all praising Slot's decision-making for the way that he brought off Trent against Brentford. And I completely agree with what Slot done. I think it's the right thing. As he said, we need Trent for the entire season, not just 2 games. And it's going to be the same for Mo as well. But also we have that different option. We have that player who, whereas we kind of know what Mo's going to do. He's going to get the ball out wide. He's going to try and either, look to try and work a way into the box by passing it, laying it short to Trent or to Szoboszlai or whoever. Or he's going to try and run at that defender and burst his way into the box, cut inside, and then try and score with his left foot. Chiesa, on the other hand, provides a completely different option for us. He might be the player that's more likely going to drive to the byline and whip that ball into the box, looking for someone like Darwin or Jota, who are both good in the air. So creating those chances for the forward players to score goals. So, in my opinion, we can't criticise Hughes, Edwards, FSG, whoever for this signing. It's a perfect signing that makes a lot of sense for me. It's one that I'm happy that the club have made. But we can still then be critical of the rest of the transfer window if we don't do something else. So I don't feel like the argument can ever be, well, we shouldn't have bought Chiesa, instead we should have prioritised the number 6. I think the fact that we went for Zubimendi first shows that we did prioritise the number 6, we just didn't get the one that we wanted. And at that point in time as well, maybe Slot having more work with Gravenberch and seeing what he can do and what he can achieve. Maybe he said that the 6 is not a priority anymore. Maybe he wanted to look at cover in other areas. I've seen rumours that we're looking at Simakan from RB Leipzig to bring him in as centre-back cover. There's a lot of different things that Liverpool can do now going forward for the rest of the window, although the window is running out, which can make this transfer window a successful one and one that we can all be happy with. So that's basically my thoughts. I don't know, I saw a lot of things about this deal that a lot of negativity coming out, and a lot of the negativities always seem to be revolving around the same thing. He's not a number 6. He can't play centre-back if we need him to. And it's like, well, no, I know that he can't do that, but we're not signing him for that. At the very least, we're signing him as a backup for Salah. At the very most, we're expecting him to challenge for a starting spot, whether that's going to be on the left or whether that's going to be on the right or whatever it's going to be. And at the very worst that this can happen is it fails and then we sell him in 12 months' time for double the money, for argument's sake, and we end up making a profit on the player. So I think, don't be too disheartened is what I'm trying to allude to. When you hear this negativity around, you can be excited for this transfer. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what Chiesa can do in the Premier League. I'm excited to see what different options he provides for Slot. I'm excited to see how he fits into the setup and how he fits into the team. And I'm also excited to see how this can bring out the best of Mo for longer. If it means more games where we can bring off Mo at 70 minutes and not make him play the full 90 so we can get him rested. If it means that we can rest Mo for certain games and play Chiesa instead so that Mo's going to be fit and sharp for those big games. I'm happy to see what that can help for the team. I'm also happy to see, can this push Diaz to another level, knowing that now he has competition for that spot, although I know he does have the competition with Gakpo, but bringing in someone of a similar sort of style to Diaz, will that inspire Diaz to play better? There's a lot of things that could happen with this transfer that could be positive, and there's very few that I can see that are negative. Like, obviously, the main negatives are that he gets injured again, and then we just don't see him for the rest of the season. That's obviously a big negative. But then I don't think Liverpool would take the risk if they didn't think it was going to turn out to be a positive transfer. But let me know your thoughts. Are you happy with the signing? You know, take away the fact that we haven't signed a DM, take away the fact that we haven't signed a defender, take away we haven't signed a left back. Are you happy with this signing on its own? And also, what do you think Chiesa's role is going to be at Liverpool this season? Do you see him purely as a backup, or do you see him actually challenging for a first team spot? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts. Let me know if you agree with anything that I've said. Let me know if you think that this is a negative transfer. But yeah, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And if you can, subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. And I will catch you all in the next video. Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon.